Hi, I'm Stuart Addison, and today I'm going to demonstrate that we can create reproducible, as in binary identical, builds of the OpenJDK19 codebase. So first of all, I'm going to demonstrate what the problem is here that we're trying to resolve. So I've got two builds here of JDK19 that I've done before this video. And if I compare them both, they were done on the same machine, one after the other, just build it once, then clear it out and build it twice. So you can see from this output that there's almost all of the executables in the bin directory have differences. The jmods directory have quite a lot of differences. There's a few files in lib there, and then some of the metadata that we store in the release file. The release file, most of those are timestamps, and while timestamps are part of the problem, they're not all the issues we have to deal with. So my colleague Andrew Leonard has put some changes into the upstream OpenJDK codebase, as well as the build scripts that we use for Temurin at Adoptium. And by using those, we can get almost completely reproducible builds, with one exception, which I'll go into later when we complete this demonstration. So the repository that we have all our build scripts in is this one, Temurin build, which you can see there. Now, in order to test this, one of the things that I was doing recently was I was modifying the build scripts so that we, instead of using a variant called hotspot, I modified it to use a variant called Temurin, which is more consistent with the naming that we use elsewhere for the project now. So what I wanted to do was, before and after my changes, I wanted to build one with hotspot, then build one with my changes and the name Temurin, and make sure that they come out the same. So the labeling and everything should have still been Temurin exactly as it was before. So I wanted to make sure that I've changed the option in the scripts but not have any effect on the ultimate output. So I'm going to start by doing the first test, which is to go back to just after the reproducible build options were added into the repository, which is this hash here. And you can see that that was where the reproducible build options were added. So I'm now going to set this variable release equals true, which sets up the types of builds that we would normally do to be able to release the product, and part of that is it's now enabling the reproducible build options. One of the most important ones that are in there is an option which is set when you select release equals true, which is configure args equals minus with source date equals version, which basically squashes all the dates that are in the builds. So what I can now do is variant equals hotspot make JDK. JDK head at the moment is JDK19, which is why I'm not actually specifying JDK19 here. So if I now kick that off, it will go away and get hold of the source for JDK19, build it, and yeah, that will take about probably 6 or 7 minutes or so on. So I'm going to pause it for now and come back later. Bye. So we're back again now, and it's almost at the end of the build. It's still doing some compression of the final tar.gzip files. If I scroll up a little bit, you can see that the Java minus version output of the thing that's built is there. So it looks fairly normal. And there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the tarball that was created and extract it. So tar xpfdead workspace target tar.gz, that's where it puts it, and I'll extract that and keep hold of it until we've done the second build. Right, so we're going to check out the version of the build repository that has my changes in it for changing all the directives from hotspot to Temurin, as I mentioned before. So that would be git checkout, and here's a checksum I saved earlier. For those of you who didn't spot, the GH alias that I used before is just that. So it just prints the git history in a slightly more interesting format. And so you can see now that we've got this change, which is the one where I made the change to switch from hotspot to Temurin. So at this point I'm going to run the build again. So it'll be but with variant equals Temurin build farm JDK.log. And again, that's going to go away, run the build, and it's going to take a few minutes. I think in this case it will probably take about 6 minutes or so. So again, I'm going to shut down the video recording for now and come back to it later. So once again, we're almost at the end of the build process. It's doing its final compression, and then we can do some comparisons on the before and after versions. Here we go. So first of all, I will rename the first one that we did. Secondly, I will extract the tarball of the new one from the which should be created in the same location as before. And I'll rename that one too. And if I now do diff -r, this is the real test. Hopefully this will actually do what I expect it to. We can see that, yes, so other than the variant in the release file, which I've actually compensated for in a subsequent PR, the only difference is in these two files, which are the class data sharing files. Now we're doing some work to try and resolve that as well, but you can see that other than that, the files, everything in the bin directory, all the JMods and everything else are absolutely binary identical. As I said, the date stamps account for quite a lot of it. There are other things like if you build with a different user ID, then that can cause differences as well, and the release equals true variable that we used earlier to pass into the Temurin build process will compensate for all of those. So as you can see, it is possible to produce absolutely binary identical versions of your C and C++ code and Java code. And as yet, the only difference is in the class data sharing. At the moment, this is only available in the JDK19 codebase because that's where all the patches have gone into. We're looking at backporting most of these changes into JDK17 as well, so that we'll be able to have fully reproducible builds there at Temurin going forwards. Thanks for listening.